becomes power and control over other people because we have overused our minds, and we're at the point where we have to stop that because it's not working. Now, if you look back at some of the reasons this has happened, which is interesting, it's partly just what was part of the design plan. So we can look at it that way. But you can also look at, back in the 4th century, the burning of the Library at Alexandria, which wiped out, so much wisdom from ancient times. Just wiped it out. And at the same time, the Constantine brought together religious leaders, popes and priests and whatever from all over the place, and decided to bring together a council to decide what books would be put in the Bible and what books would not, and how they would be put in. So they took out about 20, and they distorted about 25, and they condensed another rest of them. And there's that one. Yeah. So what we have is a skeleton of really the most beautiful and wonderful writings from our tradition that you can imagine gone. And we didn't realize that until the Dead Sea Scrolls back in the middle of the last century were discovered. And what they discovered from reading the Dead Sea Scrolls was that the thing they left out of the Bible was our emotion, our feelings. Our feelings. That was totally wiped out. And yet, it is the very thing that makes us human. The very thing that makes us who we are. So, Greg Braden, a very diplomatic man, very diplomatic. He's written, I think the book is Blossom of Prayer. And it's lovely. He talks about all the modes of prayer that we have, and like just praying and asking, and the various things that we do in church are told to do. But what he ends up saying at the end of the CDs or the book that you read is that the one that they left out is our feelings. And our feelings are the only prayer we have, because it's what we live with every minute of every day. Our feelings. And that's the prayer. Now, from a scientific point of view, you can look at that and say, we all know you create your own reality, but I'll try to explain that so it makes more sense. But basically, whatever we're feeling, we're going to get back, right? So whatever you put out, whether it's when it's good, when it's bad, it's bad. That really happens, right? You've all had those things happen to you. So in the universe, there is only energy. That's what the universe is made of. That's God. God is the energy all around us. And when we put out positive energy, it goes into the universal realm of positive energy. And we, if we can connect with that, that will come back to us. And if we put out negative energy, that will come back to us. And that is all there is. That is what is. That really is all there is. And it sounds like, well, where's God? Well, that is God. And God is allowing us to be everything that we want to be and can be. That's what it is. Okay. So how do we? That is very liberating and very scary to me. When I think about it, it's like, wow, when I'm in a bad place, what am I doing? You can draw negative things to yourself, right? Because that's what it is. We live in an energetic universe. That's what it is. So what Greg Braden says is, okay, other times during this 5,000-year cycle, the world has ended in fire or flood or whatever. You can think about Noah, Iraq, and the Great Flood. And those things actually did happen. And whatever is put in the Bible is probably symbolic of how it happened, but things did happen. And we have scanty information about that, but we have enough to show it. Like, for instance, a lot of folks now think that some of the energy from Atlantis went into the Mayans. Okay. So some of that energy was held in place and brought forward. Okay. So what he's saying today is what this new transition is about is our thoughts and our feelings. And that's how we're going to change the world. And this time we can do it if we do it with our own love and our own intention, rather than just letting it be up to fate. So when you look at free will, what is free will? Well, it's nothing if you have no consciousness. There's no free will, really, if you're not making choices. So free will really is about conscious awareness. And then you are in co-creation with the universe or with God, or however you want to say it, with each other. That's why it's so important to connect with, like-minded folks, always. And don't you feel differently when you're with people that you're comfortable with, as opposed to people that are, maybe at Walmart or whatever. You just feel different, right? You can feel the difference. Yes, absolutely. So one of the things we need to do is make community. Just for that reason, because we need to be with other people that can keep enlivening us and keep supporting us and making us feel like if we continue on this path in a positive way, we will make it, whatever it is. Now, there's a lot more to this, but bear with me. That's one aspect of it. So what our job now is, right now, is to connect the mind, the last three chakras, and the first three chakras, the emotions, into the heart with feelings. Now, feelings are different than emotions. Okay, I need to make this distinction. Emotions, particularly unbridled emotions, can get out of hand, and you all know that. When you're angry, you can get too angry or depressed, or whatever, you can get out of hand. And so therefore, that's one of the reasons we use the logic to try to get us away from that. But what we did was suppress the emotions, okay, so that they didn't exist at all. But of course they do exist. They fester in the body, which is part of the reason we get sick today, because we don't acknowledge the feelings that go with the thoughts. We are so focused, particularly in the Western world, on knowledge, on learning something, on knowing, that we really don't have a sense of heart. We've lost that sense, or have not, probably lost it. We haven't come back to the heart. There's an Institute of Heart Math, been around for a number of years, and they do studies on the vibrations of the heart. And they have found out that the heart, the magnetic energy of the heart is like hundreds of times more than the mind. Hundreds of times more. So it behooves us to move into the heart. That's where we have to be. And that's what this is all about right now. That's what's happening. And people are going to freak out because they're in their emotions down here, in their, not in their feelings, but they're in their emotions. And so they will freak out because they don't understand. And people will be logicking this all out in their heads, thinking they've got it all figured out, and they're not going to make it either in that way. They're not going to. That's not how to evolve. I don't want to say they're not going to make it. That's not going to help them evolve. Until we drop into our hearts, we're not going to be able to evolve. Evolving is going into the heart. That's what it's about. So here we are. And it's an exciting time, and again, it's a scary time at the same time. And particularly, we're all women, but particularly for men, I think it's even harder for men to get into their hearts. It's just a scary place. People don't like to go there. But one of the things about the Mayan calendar, when it talks about the levels of consciousness, the same amount of information that took thousands and thousands of years on the first level of consciousness, which was more amoebas and rocks, not people. Now is taking less than a year and soon to be up to nothing. In other words, we will learn as much information in that short amount of time as it took thousands and thousands of years. So in some ways, it's a setup for us not to use our minds, because you cannot think that fast. You just can't. It's too much information. And don't you feel that? Don't you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't keep up with this. It's way too much information. So it doesn't behold us or help us at all to be in our mind. And I'm not saying you should never be in your mind. I'm not saying that, although sometimes I do say that. I just say, are you out of your mind yet? Because that's what you need to be. So sometimes that is the best thing. Yeah.
When you talked about emotions and feelings being different, can you explain that a little bit to me?
Feelings are it's the culmination of both the mind and the emotions. Right.
Together.
So it's not
identifies the feeling.
Right. Well, emotions are like raw. They're not bridled at all. They're just raw emotions. Where the feeling level is, you can acknowledge, and I'm going to go into this more, but you can acknowledge the emotion through the brain and understand it, and so it doesn't take you over. Yeah. So then what you need to do is take those two things and drop into your, what we would call intuition, right? I mean, basically, our intuition helps us to stay balanced and helps us to stay in connection with our